All right, guys, welcome. Those of you on LinkedIn and also members of the High Performance CEO Facebook group. Thank you for joining us. I'm joined today by a past client, right? He's just finished up on Reignite, now Reignite Pro, Amar. Amar, thanks for joining us today just to sort of talk about your progress, some of the things that you've experienced whilst on the program. But before we jump into any of that, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, sort of background, that kind of thing. Where do you work, sort of a bit about family, etc.
Sure. Morning all. Thanks, Alex, for having me. So yeah, my name is Amar Taka. I worked with Alex for 12 weeks over the Reignite program. We're about 8 weeks on now, so it's a good time to reflect on the journey since as well. A little bit about myself. Quite a hectic life. Got a 5-year-old and twins that are 2. So they keep me busy. Outside interests. I've got essentially run a consultancy in program management and a few other outside interests as well. So quite a full schedule, and like to keep fit. Play a lot of team sports and try and keep fit in the gym as well. And wanted to reach out to Alex to see how we could, I guess, help me with a particular goal that I had in mind. And yeah, I guess we can get into that as we go through the session, Alex.
Yeah, and look, that was like one of the things that stood out to me, right? Because when I work with clients, we talked before about generally they fall into like one or two camps. So on one side, it might be people that are generally unhappy with their physical weight, and that's affecting their mental performance and how they feel about themselves, right? But on the other side, it's like maybe the other types of clients that sometimes I work with, and I think maybe you fall more into this category, right? But it's people that are generally, they're hitting quite a major milestone. For you, it was turning 40. Some other guys, it's maybe kind of hitting that 50 milestone. And it's like you weren't in bad shape, right, before we started working together. But there was some other catalyst. There was something else that you wanted to get. Like, what was it that made you say, like, okay, I want to actually... I'm not completely happy with where I'm at. Like, I want to make a change. What was that?
Yeah, absolutely. It was probably December before I started working with, around about March. I think we first started working. I'd already kind of made the decision that I will reach out to you, followed you for a number of years. Obviously, we worked together 6 years ago and have kept in touch. So watched your journey as well, and obviously knew personally that your credentials. So had that in the back of my mind. Around December, I probably got to the heaviest I've ever been. I was around about 84 kg. Played from football and just didn't feel like I did myself justice, and decided from that point that in the new year, like most people do, I'll get back on the I guess on that circle of 3 months great, 3 months not so great, 3 months great, and then 3 months not so great. So just kind of tired of that yo-yo performance where I think I would do 3 months and for whatever reason, either commitments at work, commitments at home, or injury or illness, it will just the performance just drop off. So I guess me reaching out, really, my goal or my thought process behind it was had hit an 84 kg milestone, which is kind of probably the heaviest I've ever been, and decided, right, I'm going to start getting myself back in shape from the new year. Around some holidays, I had a belated 40th birthday coming up to celebrate, so I wanted to get myself into some shape before I went on a holiday, and I got myself into pretty good shape, back to about what I was walking around at normally there, around 77 kg. So a good 7 kg had been shifted, some good routines. But I'd come back and decided that I wanted to then say, let's take this to the next level and not just stop right there. So I think pre-holiday, I'd reached out to you to say, let's go with this and let's see what, let's have a conversation to see where this could go. And could we work together, and would I be a good candidate for the program, I suppose.
And so actually you'd made some progress on your own. You started to kind of get some routines put in place. You'd shifted some of the weight, right? And starting to feel a little bit better about yourself. If you look holistically at your whole performance, right? So we're talking about, your business performance, your career performance, sort of work, maybe like relationships outside of work, family life, your health and fitness, like what wasn't quite slotting into place when you were trying to do things on your own?
Yeah, probably didn't have a good balance, really. I'd probably put too much focus at work rather than the home and time for myself, basically. I thought I had it in good balance, but being in program management does help you schedule things and have some structure. Otherwise I wouldn't have a career, I suppose. So that does help. but there was a fundamental balance that was missing. It was too centered on, I guess, interests that weren't necessarily great for me and the family, but I suppose great for my career. And I probably put too much energy on that side, and certainly not enough energy on the home and those closest to me.
Okay, and if you think about, one of the things I speak to probably hundreds of people throughout a year, some of which I work with, some of which I'm just sort of consulting, giving some help and advice, right, to. And one of the things that comes up is like the time to take action. So generally speaking, it can come from like one or two places, right? It can either come, and most people sort of fall into the former, which is life starts to get a little bit uncomfortable, right? Physically, mentally, or even mentally and emotionally, things aren't kind of where they want them to be. Like, the alternative is you actually define a vision, you work out where you want to get to, you emotionally commit to that, and that becomes a very strong emotive pull towards it, right? Like, if you think about like what made the decision for you to make that change, what was it that made you say now's the time, rather than 6 months later or a year later?
Yeah, it was, well, basically I said that the performance, I think my performance wasn't great in December playing team sports, but it was kind of that voice in my own head saying almost weekly or daily, get fit, get back in shape. And just having that hanging over me constantly to say, you can be better than this, you can do more, do something more about it. Everything else, I guess, I'd gone after, I could achieve, and I felt like I think most things were attainable. I would get them, I could achieve them. This one goal, I just couldn't seem to break through. Make good progress in the gym, but there were just goals that I just couldn't get to, and I had a specific goal in mind to just reduce body fat overall, and just become a lot leaner. Really, I felt like I was carrying too much timber, and just that was it. Really, it was that constant voice in my head saying, you can do a bit more, you can do a bit more, you can certainly do more. And just not having that hanging over me anymore is what really made me press the button. I just got frustrated, I guess, with myself by having that voice constantly in my ear, in my head, saying, do it, do something about this. Although I was going to the gym and was trying to keep it, doing everything I could, but just not getting that breakthrough that I really wanted, which was, as I said, to just, I guess the overall goal was quite a simple one, really. When we worked together, I think we discussed it was a reduced body fat by to 12%. So it was just, that wasn't the goal I had initially. It was just to lose weight, right? And just get in the best shape you possibly can, and see what that looks like. But to help measure that and give it something we can go after, we put a number on it, and that was it. So I think, at the time, I think I was around about 18 to 19% body fat. So we set ourselves a goal, but it was really to get rid of that voice in my own head, which is telling me to do something about this. Just like you would do in any other walk of life, it's part of your career. If you want to get a promotion, if you want to go into a different career, you do something about it. You'd learn about it, you'd read about it, you'd work with somebody. So I decided, now's the time, because I hadn't achieved what I thought I could achieve on my own.
Awesome. And we sat down, right? I remember kind of the first session with you and mapping out like, what do you actually work on, right? Because Reignite Pros it's bespoke to each client, so everyone has their own goals or outcomes that they want to achieve. And it's interesting because I was listening to this podcast the other day where they're talking about the problem with life coaching, which has sort of like tentacles into performance coaching. But life coaching, if you ask a life coach like what's the outcome that their client wants, right, a lot of them be like, oh, I want to get alignment with my higher self. And it's like that, for most men at least that are working in business, it's like that verges on woo-woo. It's like very hard to sort of make it tangible. Yeah. So you came in and it's like you had some health-related goals that you wanted to work on. Like what were the outcomes? There was the health sort of body fat percentage. There was some mindset stuff as well. Like what were the outcomes that you had before joining the program?
So I think, some of it was in place. So I think I had some structure, had some balance, and was already working out quite regularly, but I just wasn't getting the results. And when after having done the course now, I can fundamentally see that I never would have achieved the results if I just continued on the path that I was already on. So that's clear to me now. But a lot of those frameworks, I guess, I was aware of, but I just hadn't really plugged into them. And we'll probably go into some detail later on of what they were. But I guess my mindset was, and the outcomes I was looking for was just really a leaner body, but better aesthetically, but just couldn't get to that goal for whatever reason. It probably was a combination of things we talked about slightly early, but the family taking over, or commitments at work, injury, picking up an injury, and just losing that focus, not having that kind of, hold yourself accountable each day to how are you going to get that, how are you going to achieve what you set out to achieve. So I think some of it was there, some of it I knew, but there was a heck of a lot I didn't know. And I guess looking back now, there was, like I said, there was no path that was really going to get me the outcome that I was looking for. So I guess we talked a lot there about the physical goal. Having watched your program from afar, and what I thought it would give was also that one of the things we talked about quite a lot was post the 12 weeks course, was would I have the tools to do something myself, and was it sustainable long term? Because I wasn't looking for a diet, I wasn't looking for a program, I was looking for something which is, and I could have worked with any personal trainer, I suppose, but what I was looking for was more than a personal trainer. I wasn't someone, because I had enough experience in the gym, but I knew that working with you, combining the physical but the mental side, was probably what was lacking. Now, 12 weeks later, I can absolutely say fundamentally that was what's made this work. You won't achieve a goal if you've got, a physical goal ain't going to happen unless you've got something that's driving you day in, day out to get to that physical. So I didn't have that kind of purpose to go on and get up every single day and try and be a better version of myself, really. So that was what something we definitely picked up on the 12 weeks. Well, actually, right from the start, really, it's one of the exercises you make us do. You need a why, really, other than just saying it's this goal. And when we go into the psychology of that, there's a lot more that drives the course and drives a successful outcome. You're just not going to get there by just lifting weights.
And I guess that's a really good point, that the connection to your why, the reason why, that starts to inspire you to take action. So it pulls you, rather than, most people kind of live their days, their weeks, their months, their years based on intermittent cycles and bouts of motivation. Yes. Right. So motivation generally is based on willpower. It's higher in the morning. As you go through the day, you lose less focus. You start to drain the kind of the energy and the motivation. And because it's based on an external stimulus, a goal, or willpower, it sort of diminishes. It's intransigent. Whereas inspiration, because you're emotionally connected to it, even when you've had a long day of work and things have started to take over, it's like you're still almost compelled to take the action, because that's built into like almost who you are. Like, from your perspective, how did your expectations of like yourself and what you wanted to take from the program, how did that change, throughout the 12 weeks, or did it stay the same?
No, I'd say, I think I hit a moment of it. I suppose we talked about it quite a bit during the course, but like a light bulb moment, or the penny drops, I guess we called it, right? And there was probably around week 5 where we really started dialing up the program, and the penny just dropped for me. I really had a solid why at that point, and I knew what levers to pull on, and we were getting, I guess it helps when you're getting results as well. So we were seeing good weekly outcomes, which was fantastic. But the penny drop for me is when it all came together, from not just looking at the physical training plan and looking at your macros. That was all fantastic, but it was the mindset exercises that kind of glue it together, right? It's part of it's really the overriding or the foundation, really, of what drives the next 12 weeks, really. So I think I said that was about week 4 or 5 into it. We did a number of mindset exercises, which were really powerful. And then they really, that was the anchor from that particular point. So it definitely did change. And it changed from week on week as well after that as well, because you just have a fresh perspective. I suppose halfway through, I also thought that the outcome I was looking for, which was a 12% reduction, wasn't really a goal that I was really too bothered by it at the end, if I'm really being honest. We achieved it, but it wasn't something that I sat and actually thought about daily, really. It was more about, there's so much more you were taking away from it each day, which was bigger than the outcome that we'd actually set was, because quite a simple outcome. We had a goal, which was fantastic, which made it, as you said, tangible. but it was more than that. You know, at the end of that, you got a heck of a lot more than just achieving that one tangible outcome. There was, you know, I think what I'd describe is what's been more important almost to me is 6 weeks on after the course is those, you know, those behaviorals and rituals that you learn on the program have stuck with me, and that was probably more important. So there was really two goals. What they start with was the actual physical goal, but the actual having a framework beyond the 12 weeks for me to run myself, really, to see if I could achieve this without someone watching over me, I suppose. Yeah, so that's really, you know, that's where we are today. But yeah, absolutely, during the 12 weeks, it just went through the roof in terms of what are you trying to achieve here, why are you trying to achieve this, and how are you going to achieve it, was absolutely different from week 1 to week 12. And I said somewhere in the middle there is where it really basically just all made sense to me and gave me a clearer picture.
Nice. Well, let's talk a little bit about that, right? Because that's I think an incredibly important part of any coaching program, particularly performance coaching, is what happens afterwards, right? So you're 6 to 8 weeks after finishing the program, and one of the things, you know, I say in marketing, and I'm sure some people will read it and think bollocks, right? Is we teach a system in 12 weeks that will serve you for 12 years plus, right? That's kind of what we say. Now, obviously, you're not 12 years plus from finishing the program, but almost like any Tom, Dick, and Harry can lose weight with enough sort of just short-term motivation. You can hustle your way through it, but keeping yourself in shape and then keeping some of the disciplines and some of the behaviors, like that's a different sort of skill set in and of itself. Like for you, like, does it feel like some of the things that we've talked about have stuck? Like what, and if so, like what have you kind of taken away that you're still doing, you know, after the course?
Morning rituals, evening rituals, setting yourself up for the day, which was, I think, fundamental to the shift in mindset, giving yourself that space in the morning to really get your mind and body ready for the day ahead, and to be successful on this transformation, you do need discipline, and you do need good programming in your day. So planning the night before about what you're going to do in the session in the gym, planning your meals, you know, planning your macros. As much of that has stayed with me from post the course. So it's just given me a framework, as I said, from post the course to just follow going forward. And it's relatively simple when you grasp it, but you have to know it first. And everything's simple once you know it, right? But it took that time. It took, you know, like I said, it's probably 4 to 5 weeks for me to really grasp what you were laying in front of me. And then, you know, it's for me then to understand that and really ask questions around what you're providing me with, and making sure that I really understand what's there. And yeah, so in terms of where we are now, probably 80% of what we were doing in the 12 weeks has remained, in terms of, you know, like I said, the morning and evening planning and reflections. They're certainly there. A number of the activities and exercises that we did in the actual gym remain with me today, and some of the core principles around, you know, the way we execute those routines as well in the gym, such as, you know, progressive overload and just attacking certain body parts, etc. A lot of that has all stayed with me. So I say, yeah, close to about 80%, I'd say, of what we do in the 12 weeks remains today. Glad to say that I've had a few more beers than I had in the 12 weeks since the 16 in this 6 to 8 weeks.
It's balance, right? It's all life, right? It's got to be fit for life.
Yeah, we probably didn't touch upon that enough earlier in the course. One of the things I did say to you, and one of the things I was quite, you know, got me hooked was one of your strap lines, like you can have your weekly pizza or have your weekly beer and still do the course and still achieve your goals. And we did, you know, I still would have my weekly cheat meal or whatever, you know, I wanted. I didn't think it was restricting anything that I would normally do, but just being more aware and more conscious of how I would plan for that particular event or day prior to the event and certainly after the event. So a good example is, you know, if I'd spent an evening having a few beers, you would make sure that you're certainly lining up your day for that by just reducing your calorie intake and post that, again, reflecting on just understanding what you're putting into your body and how it's fueling you and your day, really, and how that then will have a cascading impact on the rest of your day, week, and making then sure that, you know, you've got that resilience built in to say, well, I've had a few beers, next day I'll skip the gym or I'll just eat crap all day. What's really, you know, what's really stuck with me post that is you can recover quickly. You recover a lot quicker by just, you know, giving yourself that capacity to bounce back quicker by setting yourself up for success, really, which is knowing what to put in your body the next day, how much to put in your body, and recovery periods, etc. So much has really stayed with me, and I think, you know, if I look back in terms of an actual tangible metric we can measure, I'm the same weight as I was when I finished the course and where I am today. And I'd certainly say I've dialed up probably more social experiences during the 12 weeks. I had purposely decided not to have too many commitments. I didn't want too many challenges in the way while I was doing the 12 weeks. I wanted to really focus on this one particular goal. As we recall, there was a number of personal challenges that did come up in those 12 weeks, and opportunities more than challenges, I suppose. But and the resilience that the course had given me helped me balance and not get too stressed about these big opportunities, you know, like such as buying a house or starting a new business. They all came up within the 12 weeks, and in an ideal scenario, they wouldn't have happened. But when opportunity knocks you, you know, you've got to be ready. But that mindset, you know, which we haven't really talked about too much, was really, really fundamental in terms of being able to deal with all these things that were going on in the 12 weeks that were not ideal, shall we say, when you're taking on a transformation. And it was more than a body transformation, it was a transformation, right? So of both mind and body. So a lot of that has stuck with me and it helps me from day to day, you know, being quite a stressful and hectic life.
Well, you know, the 12 weeks, as you said, you tried to, we plan right at the beginning, remove some social situations, you remove undue sort of stress and pressure because you've already got a lot going on. But then, you know, despite kind of running your own consultancy, having 3 kids, you got COVID on the program, right? You bought a house, started a business, and like a number of these things that sort of, you know, could have, and you'd be excused for thinking this could have taken over and could have knocked you off course, right? But they didn't, right? They seemingly didn't. And it was, you know, I liken the 12 weeks to like a microcosm of life. It's like life is never going to be perfect. It's never going to be the way that you plan it. There's always going to be upsets. There's always going to be things that can have the ability to knock you off course. But it's that art of resilience and having what I would term like more of like a corporate athlete mindset. You know, you talk about playing football and going to the gym, but actually in business, you're really up there in terms of at the top of your game. And I think like something changed along the 12 weeks. I remember kind of talking with you at the beginning and the end, like something changed in your own mindset. Like, what was that for you? Or what was that like for you in terms of, you know, the inner dialogue that's going on in here and you know, some of the thoughts that come up?
Yeah, so, and that's something we shouldn't absolutely lose sight of, because like I said, we have spoken so much about the physical side. In the mindset side, what I got from the 12 weeks, and like I said, probably around week 4 or 5, it absolutely bled into all works of you know, of my life. So there was the bigger purpose for me was being in shape, really. So being in shape for yourself is fantastic. I wanted to be in shape for my children, so I've had them slightly later in life. So when I'm 50, I want to be in a position to still do things with them that I can do now when I'm, you know, close to my 40s. So that helps. But then you start applying these principles to everything you're doing in life. So there's so much you can give me in terms of content on the course that it didn't really matter what the outcome was. If the outcome was to get, you know, to have a better career or start business or be successful in all those, it was all driven by a mindset activity, really. So what I learned from a lot of those activities was that you can apply the same principles that you're doing, you know, whether it was a physical task, to anything you're doing in any walk of life. So I think that the key message I would take away from what I got around week 4 or 5 was finding that balance and having that rigor and structure in place to make sure that when I'm doing a particular thing, I'm doing it to the best of my ability, and not then having that narrative in my mind going over and over and over. You need to now think about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. When I'm doing the next thing, I'm focused on pretty much solely on that now, rather than always having to think multitask and thinking, well, I'm doing this, but I'm not going to give it my full attention because I know I'm going to move on to the next thing. So I think I was probably juggling too many balls at any given moment, and therefore not giving the best version of myself in any one of them. And sometimes you can get away with that, and that will get you so far. But then it comes a point where you have to realize that multitasking probably doesn't really work, and you just need to focus on one particular goal while you're doing that goal. But having yourself that structure to say, but when I move on to when I'm in family time, for example, one of the key things we found as well for me was I'll be with the family, but as I said, coming into this course was that voice in my mind, oh, I need to go to the gym. I should be fitter. I should be better. I could do X, or I wonder how this is performing from a business point of view, and not spending that time fully enjoying, the family time really. So all of that, shift, it was a mindset shift really to say, just kind of prioritize each chunk of time and what you're doing, and making sure I'm getting out of it what I want to get out of it, and whoever I'm with is also getting the best version of me because I'm just focused. And I think, initially hitting go on the course gave me that, endorphin release to say, well, I've done something about it now. But just hitting that button and saying I've done something about it is never going to be enough for someone like myself. So it was great seeing. Obviously, weekly measurements was fantastic because we saw physical progress. But as we've said a few times now, it's not the physical progress that's probably stayed with me beyond the course. It's really the mindset, because there's going to be ups and downs. I could get injured, I could get COVID, or whatever could happen. And it's about how quickly you bounce back, and you won't bounce back unless you've got that kind of bulletproof mindset, and also having a structure that will get you there, right, to back to where you want to be or beyond, right? So I haven't stopped and said, fantastic, that was the goal to start with, and this is always going to be the goal. I'm now experimenting with different ideas and different techniques, I suppose, to kind of push on from a physical perspective, but also broaden my mind and do some more independent research, and you've certainly provided enough for a framework to go after to say, how do you take this to the next level, such as meditation is something that we're really now, we've discussed quite a lot recently, and an area that I'm really trying to explore a bit more of, really, to just unlock a little bit more from a mindset perspective.
It's the prioritization and presence within the sort of mindset. What would you say you're most proud of achieving over the last sort of 3 or 4 months?
I think for me, it would be that balance. It's absolutely finding a balance. I always thought I had it, but the version of balance I had prior and the balance I have now are two different things. And from balance, I think that's really, it's improved a number of things. Having balance gives me, I know for a fact I sleep a lot better. I get a solid 8 hours, and they're good deep 8 hours, because again, having balance means that I can go back, when my head hits the pillow, I know that I've achieved, in most cases, what I'd set out for the day. So if I want to spend time with family, I've spent time with the family during that day. And if I wanted to focus on the business that day, then I focus on the business. Or if I wanted to do something, social, I've had all of that, or I've got it planned, and I can, go to bed at night knowing that the goals for the day were set. And if I didn't quite meet them, I know how I could recover that, or what I would do the next day, but not stress about it so much, really. So stress levels and sleep certainly improved throughout the course, and again have stayed with me. But those principles are key, really, for me. That the balance really does drive everything else. If you don't have, if you just focus on one of your goals, something's not going to be right in another part of your life. So you're going to get, you're going to walk into a number of traps. And I think, I've largely avoided those. And what stuck with me is those frameworks, I suppose, that allowed me to have a better balance and do the things I want to do when I want to do them, and also do things that are equally important. I've really realized throughout this that if I don't want to do something, I won't do it. So that's important as well, to say no as well, and then understand what I enjoy and what gets me, what motivates me to be the best version of myself. It was something I'm not really particularly keen on, which also came out of this 12 weeks. I guess I learned a lot about me, which what do I like to do, and if I like doing something, I'm probably going to do a better job at that particular thing.
Nice. Well, look, last question, I guess, being the version of you now, which 4 months ago we wrote about who you want to become, right? We actually future paced you, we visualized who you wanted to become, right? So stepping into that, what would you say to the version of you kind of back in December that was, you know, thinking about maybe getting some help, thinking about whatever his next level is? What advice would you give that version of you?
Don't wait. Don't wait as long as I did. Hit the button, hit go. Stop that voice in your mind that's going on and telling you could do something, and it's there always on your mind or on your shoulder. Just, I wish I'd almost said to you that December milestone and worked with you from that point going forward and got, you know, accelerated a lot quicker. But it's never too late, and you know, hit go when you're ready to hit go, I suppose. But that's what I guess what I've said for myself. But I almost wish I knew what I wish, you know, you can always wish that you knew more earlier on, I suppose. So I thought I knew a lot about you know, health and nutrition, but reality was I think I'd only scratched the surface. Having worked with you, you know, you opened my eyes to a number of things that I was just doing wrong. And as I said, I don't think I'd ever achieved, in fact, I know I would never have achieved what I was trying to achieve had I not worked with you, basically. So I think that that's probably the first thing I would say is don't wait, because I've been probably carrying that burden around for 3, 4, 5 years, probably longer, right? Trying to get back to a better self of me, or a leaner self of me, you know, back to an early 20s version. So hit go. But you know, the thing that we said just in the last part was it's that balance. You need to get balance, and I just don't think I had that really at core. Again, I thought I did, but what you think you have and the version that you get at the end of the program, they're chalk and cheese. You know, there really is no, there's really no comparison as to what you can do. And when you understand the tools and the levers to pull on, it really, as I said earlier, it just seemed quite simple and quite obvious, but there's a lot more to it really that makes those, you know, those key building blocks work, because there's so much underneath them that gives them really their values, right? So you can't just, you know, I think we talk about it in pillars on the transformation course itself. So there's, you know, the nutritional side, there's the fitness side, there's the mindset side, and then just your behaviorals. Unless all 4 of them are balanced, that you aren't going to achieve anything on, you know, either in life or without, particularly on the program. They all need their set amount of time to make it work and bring it all together. So yeah, all of them are equally important to achieve anything. So I guess going back to the question was, I don't think I had any 4 of them where they needed to be, and any given day you'd probably put too much emphasis on one of them and not the others, and therefore it was never going to, you know, going back to the word balance, it was never balanced. And that's what I really learned through this process.
Awesome, man. Well, look, it's been fantastic watching your progress on the program, and obviously we caught up like since and had a little chat sort of before this, and it's just fantastic to hear that this stuff is continuing to help you move forward. So thank you for coming on today and sharing with everyone that's watching across LinkedIn and Facebook. And guys, look, if you do have any questions, please drop them in the comment below, and you know, I'll kind of circle back round and just give you some thoughts. But look, until then, there'll be sort of another session coming next week, another sort of pillar content session. But until then, stay safe and enjoy the weekend.